Hey everyone! Today we're going to recreate a simplified version of this lead sound from our new pack Xfer Serum 2. It's called Cold Rush. If you're into melodic techno or house, you've probably heard sounds like this in tracks from Ben Boomer, Tale of Us, or Rufus Du Sol. The magic here comes from a free-running LFO. That's what gives it that stuttery, moving texture. So follow along with me, and by the end you'll not only have a similar sound from scratch, but also a clear idea of the techniques behind it. And if this helps you, don't forget to like and subscribe for more Serum 2 sound design tips. Let's dive in. First things first, head to the menu, click Init Preset, and now we've got a blank patch to build from. Let's start with Oscillator A. You want something close to a saw wave. What matters is it's rich in harmonics, so the filter has something to grab onto. I'll choose Saw Drift PR1 and set the wavetable position to about 34. Add two unison voices with just a touch of detune, around 0.03. Keep the level at about 60%. Next, bring in some subtle white noise. Turn on the noise oscillator with a white noise generator, set the filter knob to around 60%, and keep the level low. About 20% is enough. Already you can hear the core tone starting to come together. Now let's shape this sound with a filter. Make sure both Oscillator A and the noise oscillator are routed into filter 1. Choose the MG Low 12, Serum's Moog-style 12 decibel low-pass filter. Set the cutoff around 800 Hz and add just a little resonance, about 15%. And here's a useful tip. Let's display the frequency spectrum for better visual feedback. Right-click the filter window and choose Frequency Response and FFT. Still pretty raw, but now we've got a strong foundation. Next up, envelopes. Envelope 1 is our amp envelope. Set the attack to about 600 milliseconds so the sound swells in smoothly. Set the release around 400 milliseconds with a slightly faster curve so it fades naturally. Now let's shape envelope 2, which we'll use for modulation. Attack also at 600 milliseconds, but give it a rounder, snappier curve. Set the decay long, around 5 seconds. Bring the sustain down to 60% and set the release to roughly 4 seconds. Now let's bring this patch to life with modulations. We'll start with LFO1. Shape it like this. Set the rate to 1.4 Hz in free mode and add smoothing, about 50%. Now assign it to three things. First, assign it to Oscillator A's level with a 15% modulation range and make it bipolar. You can make it bipolar by holding Shift and Option on Mac OS or Shift and Alt on Windows, and then clicking the knob where you see the blue modulation ring. Next, assign LFO1 to the noise level, also 15%, but keep this one unipolar. And finally, assign LFO1 to the filter cutoff, 15% range, unipolar. Next, assign envelope 2 to control the rate of LFO1 with a bipolar modulation range of about 20%. What this does is give the sound movement over time. You'll notice it doesn't just play at one speed, it gradually opens up and feels alive. Now set LFO2 to envelope mode with a 2-bar rate. Shape it into a negative ramp, like a falling saw. Assign it to the filter cutoff with about -15% range. Also assign it to LFO1's rate with about 20% range. You'll have to perform this in the Matrix tab. LFO3 is simple. Keep the default shape and assign it to oscillator A's fine-tune by about 10%. Set it to free mode and set the rate to around 0.6 Hz. This adds subtle pitch drift and warmth. Finally, LFO4 slowly modulates LFO1's rate over time. Set it to free, sync it to 4 bars, and keep the triangle shape. Assign it to LFO1's rate with about 10% range. Again, you'll have to do it in the Matrix tab. And one last touch, enable legato with glide at about 10 milliseconds. Now let's process the sound with effects. I'll go step by step so it's easy to follow. First, add another MG Low 12 low-pass filter. Assign LFO1 to the cutoff with about 20% modulation. Keep it unipolar and add around 5% resonance for a bit of extra color. Next, balance the spectrum with a tilt-style EQ. On the low end, set a shelf around 200 Hz, cut about 5 decibels with a wide curve. On the top end, add bell about plus 5 decibels around 10 kHz with a soft Q of about 28. This cleans up the mud and adds brightness. Next up, let's give the sound some space. Choose a hall reverb. Set the size to about 40%, the decay around 5 to 6 seconds. Filter out the lows below 25% and the highs above 70%, then blend it in at around 30% mix. That gives us a wide atmospheric tail without being overwhelming. Now let's try one of Serum 2's new toys, the Bode frequency shifter. Set shift to -100%, range to 1 Hz, blur to 80%, and mix to 30%. This adds a silky shifting texture and a sense of depth. Next, we'll tighten the dynamics using the multiband compressor. Load the factory preset MBOTT, but it's way too aggressive by default, so let's tame it. Set the ratio to about 1.1 to 1, attack to the minimum, release to around 700 milliseconds. Move the low-mid crossover to 750 Hz. For the upward compression ratio, bring it down to about 0.25. Now assign ENV2 to this parameter with a 20% modulation range. That way, the tone develops and gets a touch edgier as the envelope moves. Finally, adjust band gains. Highs to plus 2 decibels, mids and lows at 0. If it still feels bass heavy, either lower the low band output or push its threshold for more compression. Next, add the new utility module. High pass around 25 Hz to clear sub-rumble and widen the stereo field. Somewhere between 110 and 150% works nicely. To open it up even more, add a second EQ and load the preset Add Extreme Air. This brings in that sparkling top end. Finally, place a compressor and load the preset Safely Limiter. This keeps the patch under control and prevents any unwanted peaks. With all that processing, the sound is alive, spacious, and powerful. Oh, and here's a quick tip. You can bypass the entire FX chain at once by holding Alt on Windows or Option on Mac and clicking any bypass button. Next, macros. This is where the patch becomes playable. You can perform it and shape it in real time. Assign macro 1 to the main filter cutoff. Make it bipolar with about 50% range. That gives you instant control over brightness and energy. Perfect for transitions or building tension. Macro 2 will control the rate of LFO1. Assign it with around 15% range, bipolar. Turn it down to slow the stutter or up to speed it up. Great for adding movement in a drop. Macro 3 adjusts the smooth parameter of LFO1 with a 50% bipolar range. That way you can morph between a sharp, edgy modulation and a rounder, smoother one. Ideal for switching vibes mid-phrase. Macro 4 controls portamento time. Turn it up when notes overlap and you'll hear a smooth glide between them, really expressive for leads or runs. So if your MIDI has overlapping notes, you can increase this and make the pitch glide from one note to the next. Macro 5 goes to the reverb mix with a bipolar range of 40%. This lets you pull the reverb almost completely out, or push it up for huge washed-out breakdowns. Macro 6 controls the boat effect mix, about 60% range, unipolar. Turn it up for wide, phasey shimmer and subtle detuning. Macro 7. Here's a fun one. Assign LFO1 to the utility volume slider with 25% range. Then in the matrix, add Macro 7 as an aux source to that modulation. This gives you extra control over the volume pulses, so you can exaggerate them for more tension and drama, especially before a drop. We haven't used Serum 2's new all-bus yet. Let's do it. Add a chorus on bus 1, set the feedback to about 40%, push the low-pass filter all the way up, and keep the mix at 100%. Now in the Mix tab, assign Macro 8 to control the send from filter 1 to bus 1. Turn it up and you'll get an intense, dramatic chorus effect on demand. And that's it for the macros. Try automating a few together. Filter sweeps, rate shifts, reverb washes, or chorus bursts during breakdowns. and the sound really comes alive. At this stage, the patch is fully playable, expressive, and ready to use in a track. And that's it. If you enjoyed this tutorial, please give it a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe if you want more Serum 2 sound design tips and walkthroughs like this one. If you'd like ready-to-use sounds in this style, check out our new pack Places for Serum 2. It includes 180 presets designed for modern melodic production. Links in the description. And if you have any questions or need more tutorials on Serum 2, just let me know in the comments what you'd like to see next. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.